Okay. Alright, we're back. Hey, I think my audio's just a little low, but I'm turning up the gain, I think, a little much. I don't know. We'll see. It's not like these videos are very high quality to begin with. Look at this webcam. Hey. Alright. So I made some improvements last night, going back through the code, thinking about it just a little more. So, here. Sorry, I'm grabbing water. So, our constructor for engine was a little messy with our if else statements. I've converted a lot of that just down to simple kind of if this returns -1, we're just going to tear down. I moved basically everything out of the main function into the engine itself. And I think most importantly, I made the distinction that sprites cannot draw themselves, but the engine itself can draw sprites. So before we had a method here in player that that would draw it to the screen, right? The engine, in my opinion, the engine should be the one that actually handles drawing. So down here we have render player. Great. You know, it would be cool. Interfaces are cool, but I'm distracting myself. I do a lot of I get an idea in my head and I just kind of stare and say words that don't mean anything to you guys. What I was thinking about is it would be nice to just have a render sprite function that can take in everything, but I think we need to make the differentiation between a player and a just a general entity. Why is this so small? Let's oh my gosh. Okay, new. Can we just get a new? Can we okay. Well, apparently we're going to have to do this. White. Oh my goodness. There we go. Okay. So what I'm thinking is this. What about this? Okay, great. So we have our player. That's supposed to be a P. Player. But instead of doing this entity, let's do E. Oh my goodness. I wish I had a little draw pad or something. Instead of doing entity down to player and then down to enemy and so on and so forth, is you get into this pattern of polymorphism that isn't super fun, because imagine if we had more branching types down here. I don't know if it would be that complex, and each of these have their own properties. How would we go about, say, sharing properties from these from the common attribute of both the player and the entity, or the enemy, I guess. Enemy. Um, you polymorphism works, I think, in inheritance works really well for certain scenarios, but I think what I want to do is have component systems that I can plug and play into these entities. So if we have our player, a player can run or walk, a player can interact with the world, the player can attack. So I would like to have an attack entity system, or an attack component, a movement component, an interaction component. And these components can then be composed as like kind of properties and fields within the player class itself. So if we had like our enemy class, um, it can move, but it's not user input. So we're going to have a different type of movement component for enemies. But let's say enemies can interact and enemies can attack. So we can kind of like plug and play our different components. Okay, maybe some of you know what an entity component system is, and or, my idea of an entity component system. And I'm not even sure this is going to be like the way to do it, but in any case, the core idea here is if we're drawing things on the screen, we need to utilize the engine. And so we should probably take in coordinates, right? Because we want like XY coordinate pairs. So that maybe we can like have a movement component system that we can then plug into the player class, and then calling that system, we could reach out to the engine or something. And the engine is what actually renders, but the movement system is what calculates the coordinates that the player or the entity needs to actually move to. So, and this is going to be kind of a grid-like system. I don't really know how that works. It'd be just kind of choppy, but I'm wondering, I don't know. It's a lot easier when I think in terms of like matrices and arrays. Let's bring paint back up. I'm not doing much coding, but I'm talking through stuff. If we have like a given map, and then we calculate every tile to be like, I don't know, 64 by 64, right? Then if the player is in here, anytime they interact, if I can build out that system at all, anytime they interact within the boundaries of this cell, then it only affects this cell, but not this cell, but not this cell. But as they move through the boundaries of each cell within our kind of grid, our matrix, then they will be able to interact with each block, assuming they're within the right area. So, but that's like a whole complex system, and I think what I'm going to do is just kind of wing it and see how it actually turns out. I could plan all of this and like put together some sort of design document and this and that, but I'm just going to make some stuff. Okay. So, yeah, our engine is a lot more capable now. We have our teardown. We have our hold window open method. We have our render player method. We have a fill screen method. We have a create window method, initialize SDL, and so on. So now in main, what we do is we create an engine, we create a player, we fill the screen, and then we render the player. And you can see my note here. Compose into engine directly? Like, perhaps, perhaps the engine is what actually keeps track of every entity. So as we create entities, we would maybe load it into a vector of entities within the engine. And then from that, we can call out to whatever given entity we want. And then we have hold window open. So if we run this, it should basically be what you saw last time. But, it actually works in a way that's more reasonable. And we have engine up and running. If this was a little bug, I wasn't doing teardown correctly, so teardown wasn't working, but it's all fixed. So we're good to go. So what I want to do now is maybe some general movement. We could do here. Let's maybe get a couple to dos. To do player movement. To do tile placement. Right? Maybe we need to fill the screen with a bunch of rectangles. I was thinking a sprite sheet, but let's do some programmer art and not make art and just have it all be like, green is grass and blue is water, stuff like that. So we probably need a tile class as well, since we're in OOP land right now. Okay, tile placement, yes. Tile class, yes. And with these components, they might just be functional components, where like you reach out, but I'm not sure. Maybe it'll be like a static class or something. I'm not entirely sure like the limits of syntax when it comes to C++ and what it does and does not support. But I don't think we're going to be pushing a whole lot of limits. It's not like I have to suddenly learn about what templating or whatever, or like generics. I've just heard stuff like that can be hard in C++, but I'm not sure how, because they're relatively simple concepts. But maybe the implementation thereof gets kind of tricky. I don't know. Okay. Tile placement. Right. I think that's it. I think let's do tile placement. Yeah, I think that's the ticket. So, tile placement. And now I know just enough SDL2 to actually start building stuff. So we have a tile class. Great. I'm gonna move this. There we go. And then tile. All right. Radical. Okay. So public. We need an int. I'm doing the thing where I'm just thinking and not expressing. And it might be more beneficial for me to actually walk through what I'm thinking as I'm thinking it. So, what I'm thinking is, we were talking about components, and I was thinking about how much I want to modularize our components and abstract our components. And by that, what I mean is multiple entities, and entity, I guess, just being like literally anything on the screen. So tiles, enemies, NPCs, the player, whatever we decide to put on there, are going to share some resources. And I personally don't want to get into a whole lot of inheritance and polymorphism and DI and, all of that stuff, all those fun design patterns. I would rather just compose. So, how much do we abstract this? Shared information between all of these different entities includes XY coordinates. It includes standard definitions of how wide and how tall a given tile or entity should be, and so on and so forth. So maybe instead of just giving every one of these classes an X and a Y integer, we could actually package that into a little struct or something. that actually holds some of this coordinate information that we can then pass on to like anything we want. And we're doing OOP, so maybe not a struct. Maybe we can just do like a class. C++ is making me think about like memory more than I normally do. Let's see. All right, so there is no performance differences really between a struct and a class. Unless we're using like some crazy constructors and this and that. Okay. All right. Well, that's actually pretty rad. That means that we don't have to think too much about this. Oh, module. No, I don't want a module. Add class. So, what should we name this? Because I want some like basic. How about attributes? Attributes. We can always change the name. But attributes in that we have like public. I'm not too worried about public versus private right now. Int x, int y, int w, int h. And then what else? We need color sets. And player. No. Where did I define this? Oh, I defined it in here inside of. So I think what I'm actually going to do is move this kind of idea here out. And we'll say int, or we'll say struct. See, this is where abstraction is like maybe not as needed. And I have a habit of over-engineering everything I touch. Let's just keep these as fields. Keep it simple. Let's see. Window information. And then we'll say color information. So it would be like player.r, or player.attributes.r, player.attributes.g. That's no. If I hate it, I hate it. Int g, int b, int a. And what else do we have? What? Hold window open. Function definition for render sprite not found, but I don't have a render sprite method. We have render player and hold window open. Maybe it's just bad IntelliSense. Yeah, I think it's just losing it. What? Okay. Whatever. If there is a legitimate problem there, then whatever. Okay, so what do we got going on? We got sprites. Hmm. Yeah, I think we can work with this. Okay, let's open attributes.c++. Oh, we also need a constructor. Attributes. And we're taking in the above information: int x, int y, int w, int h, int r, int g, int b, int a. We'll just copy this list. X equals x. Is that how that works? I would hope. So if we have like int test and int test, if I said test equals test, right? But if I say test, oh, here, int test. But if we say test1, what about that? Really? Yeah, int test1, int test1, int test. Undefined. What? Okay. Falling off my groove here. Let's use an existing variable. So we'll say x position maybe. X POS. Yeah. I like reference it directly, so what the heck? What am I doing wrong here? Attributes, attributes. Maybe default some of these. Okay. But if we do X, right, position, Y position, we'll say width, height, red, green, blue, alpha. Oops. Alpha. You know, if there's something worth doing, it's worth doing wrong. And in my opinion, like, I remember when I first started, I spent so much time like trying to write code in the right way. You'll figure it out. You just need to write code first. You know, if you sit there and obsess over like how you should be writing every little thing, you're not actually going to make anything. You know, I'm just trying to prototype, get kind of familiar. So, that's the way it goes. You know, it's like takes a second. Okay, XPOS X, YPOS Y, width equals W, height equals H, red equals R, green equals G, blue equals B, alpha equals A. Nice. What? A member variable? These aren't member variables. These are arguments. Now it's not giving me the error. Okay, we're gonna save all of this and then reboot. Visual Studio is giving me the second time it gave me like something wrong. I need to be able to trust my like program here, my IDE. So okay. Anyway, player is going to have attributes, and we're going to include attributes.h. And I guess we can just do the initialization in here. Attributes equals no. Attributes equals attributes. Include attributes. Why is it not? Okay. Maybe it's just because I haven't filled out the constructor. Oh, yeah, it is that. Okay. So let's just do 0, 0, 64, 64. And then what do I have right now? It's like, yeah. And I may end up abstracting this color stuff a little more. And then 100. Why is that airing out? No default constructor. Do we need a default constructor? I guess. Okay. So now let's go ahead and compose player into engine. Entities. Player. Yeah, we already bring in player anyway. Engine. Yeah. And if we look at main here, we have fill screen and then render player. So I think we need to move this stuff here. So fill screen and then player equals player player equals player. And then we'll say, what was the last one? Render player. Render player. And then we need to ditch that here, and then we'll just, whoop, how clean. Okay, we're going to make this work. Then I need to cut this a little short, at least for now. What else do we... Yeah, not this. And we don't need player. Okay. Oh, this is the screen fill color. Okay. All right. So this code, I think, can be moved directly into the player constructor here. This might be over-engineered right here. We probably didn't need all the like attributes, dot width, and stuff like that, but I don't know. Width attributes dot height, and then we'll just say, oh geez, no. Oh, okay, that's not. That works differently. I was trying to multi-line select, and that works a little differently in JetBrains, like IntelliJ and stuff, but that's fine. Okay. Rad engine. Player dot attributes dot red. Player dot attributes dot green. And player dot attributes dot blue. Well, let's see if it runs. All right. Oh, we didn't finish tile, right? Okay. These are all to do with that. Okay, let's try it one more time. There we go. It was basically the same thing we had before, but in a slightly better system. So I'm happy with this. Thanks for watching. I'll be back next time.